Welcome to Lesson 3.1a on Formal Commands in Spanish. Formal commands are also known as USTED and USTEDES commands because of the way they conjugate. First off, it's important to understand what a command is. Commands are when you tell someone to do something or not to do something. And because of this, there is no expressed subject. The subject is rather understood. Give me the remote, please. Sign here. Mow the lawn. Notice that in all three of those statements, there is no subject. The word I, you, he, she, we, y'all, or they is not written. It's an understood you, or in some cases, an understood y'all. Now, formal commands have two audiences, USTED and USTEDES. If you're using an USTED command, you're directing it at one person and saying, you do something, or you don't do this. But when you're giving them the command, you're doing so in a formal manner. So these commands would be used with people of authority. You would use these with teachers, with bosses, with people that are older than you, maybe a friend's parent. In other words, this person is not familiar to you, but you still need to do a command. USTEDES is a plural command. It's directed at multiple people. So this is the command form you'd do if you were addressing the entire class. Y'all, be quiet. Or if you're presenting in front of a board of directors. Or if you are telling an audience to do something and you're directing a command at multiple people. Maybe you want to tell your two brothers to be quiet. This is when you'd use USTEDES. Even though it is formal, it's also a plural option to give a command to multiple people. The first version of the command form we're going to focus in on is the singular command form, or the USTED command. This would be directed at one person. Sign here, please. Pass me the sugar. Read the chapter. Grade our tests, please. There are three steps that you need to form the USTED, or the singular formal command. The first step is by far the most important. It will actually seem like you don't need to do the first step, but skipping step number 1 will cause big consequences later on. Step number 1 is to conjugate the verb into the present tense yo form. And while that may not seem extremely necessary, if you skip this step, you're going to miss crucial irregulars and yo-go verbs and spell your commands incorrectly. After you conjugate into the yo form, you're going to remove the o. And then we actually flip endings. So AR verbs take on ER endings, and ER-IR verbs take on AR endings. So once you've done the yo form, you've dropped the o. If your original verb was an AR verb, you're going to make it end with E. If your original verb was an ER or IR verb, you'll make it end in A. Let's look at some examples. Eat your vegetables. Comer. This is a ER verb. Watch how it conjugates. Yo form, como. Drop the O, com. Third form, we flip the endings, coma las verduras. Estudiar is an AR verb. Estudié para el examen. We went from estudió to estudi to estudié. Now this is where that yo form, that step number 1, becomes extremely important. Leave on time. Salir. The yo form of salir is salgo. We need that form to be able to drop the o from. So we go from salgo to salg to it's an IR verb, so we flip the ending, salga a tiempo. Wake up. Despertarse. Despertarse is a stem changer and a reflexive, so let's look at what we do here. Despiértese. Well, we know when we have a reflexive pronoun that we're going to have to deal with it, and most of the time we put it in front. But with an affirmative command, we don't put it in front. We actually attach it to the end. So you'll notice that the say stayed at the back half. Now, despertar was a stem changer, and by putting it into the yo form, we caught that it was despierto. Then we drop the o, despiert, and an AR verb takes on an ER ending, despierte se. Now, when we attach a pronoun to the end, we also have to accent the vowel right in front of the infinitive. The se is not part of the infinitive. So technically the E, the very last E in despierte, that's the infinitive. So we count back one vowel, and that's where we get despierte se. Don't listen to him. Escuchar. I know escuchar is not written here, but it's the verb escuchar. AR verb, no escuche a él. So the negative form is no different. We still put escuchar into the yo form, escucho, drop the o, escuch, and then because it was an AR verb, we flip the ending, escuche. No escuche a él. Don't be late. No esté tarde. Well, here's a predicament with estar. As soon as we put it into the yo form, we get estoy. There's no o at the end to drop. So estar is actually considered an irregular. And on a future slide, you're going to see the list of conjugations for the irregulars. The irregulars being dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, and saber. So it happens to look like we just flipped the ending, because more or less we did. And then we threw a no in front. No esté tarde. Don't go to bed too late. Now here is acostarse. Acostarse is a reflexive and a stem changer. No te acueste demasiado tarde. Excuse me, no se acueste demasiado tarde. The one I was doing was informal. Okay, so we had to manipulate the se. In the first example with despertarse, the se attached to the end of our command. Now this is different. The se goes in front, but only because we're dealing with a negative command. Because the word no is present, the se cannot attach. It must bump to the front. That makes it a little bit easier, because then we just deal with acostar. Acuesto, drop the o, acuest, and it's an AR verb, so acueste. No se acueste demasiado tarde. So, when dealing with reflexives, affirmative attaches and adds an accent. Negative, you bump it to the front. Okay, now there's a plural command form as well, known as the USTEDES command. And this is just directed at multiple people. You're telling multiple people to pay attention, take your time, study for the test, or maybe to a board of directors, give us more money. But these are commands directed at a multitude of people, at least more than 2 people. You still follow the first same steps that you do with a singular command or an USTED command. The crucial step being put it into the yo form. Then you drop the o, and we still are flipping the endings. The only difference between an USTED and an USTEDES command is the letter N. AR verbs now end in EN, and ER/IR verbs now end in AN. So if we look at the same set of examples of eat your vegetables, study for the test, leave on time, wake up, don't listen to him, don't be late, don't go to bed too late, they're all going to be identical to an USTED command, but now they're going to end in N. Coman las verduras. Estudien para el examen. Salgan a tiempo. Despiértense. Now, remember, we had despiértese. We now get despierten, but we still have to put the se at the end because this is a positive or affirmative command. No escuchen a él. No estén tarde. No se acuesten demasiado tarde. And here, the se is still in front, and then we put on our N to make it plural, or un ustedes command. Alright, so let's look at just irregulars and reflexives on their own slide here. The irregulars form the acronym DISHES, so always watch for dishes. Dishes stands for dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, and saber. These are irregular because they're irregular in the yo form. Yo-go verbs, we can drop an O. But the yo irregulars, we don't have that option because they don't always end in O. And so dar would be doy, ir, voy, ser would be soy, haber is actually he, estar, estoy, and saber, sé. So none of these yo forms end in O, so therefore we have to improvise to turn them into commands. So the irregular forms of dar, based on whether it's singular or plural, USTED command or USTEDES command, de, den. Notice the accent mark for the USTED. Ir goes to vaya, vayan. Ser becomes sea, sean. Haber becomes haya, hayan. Estar becomes esté, estén. And saber becomes sepa, sepan. Now I will tell you right now, where commands are concerned, you're never going to use haber. But I keep it in to help you remember dishes, because dishes is going to repeat as we work through other commands and as we get into the subjunctive. So it's important for us to recognize haber as haya and hayan, but I can tell you with 100% certainty you will not use haber on any command quiz. We just need to hold it in our memory for future use. Now, let's talk reflexives. I already showed you some examples with despertarse and acostarse of where those pronouns go. Here are the generic rules. All of your pronouns will remain se. Because we're dealing with usted and ustedes, when we look at reflexives, me, te, se, nos, os, se is for the bottom two conjugations, and that's what we're using, usted and ustedes. So the pronoun will always be se. Where we put the pronoun will change. If we have a positive command, we attach it to the end of the command form, but that requires that we also accent the vowel closest to the infinitive. Remember, the se is not part of the infinitive, so we have to find that last vowel before the se and count one backwards. That is the vowel that will get accented. Now, if we have a negative command, meaning we see the word no, then we can no longer attach a pronoun. The pronoun must go in front of the command form. And when it goes in front of the command form, no accent marks are needed. But remember, it's the word no, then a pronoun, then the command form. And reflexive pronouns are only applicable when we have a reflexive verb. If the se isn't there to start, we don't have to do anything with it because it wasn't there. But if we have a verb that has se, then we have to manipulate it. Okay, let's see how much you understood and see you in class.